Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Sarvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavari Astyachare Shatarine Namaste Saraswate Devi Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ranga, Hare Janananda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Shiva Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivajgacharya Shtata Saraswata A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Haridas Namachar Haridas Thakur Ki. Ananta Gota Vaishnavinda Ki. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Ki. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Madhava Ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Go Premanandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru and Grand, all glorious to Sri Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharine Nivasesha Sanyavari Bhakti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam today. We're going to have a little slightly different program today. We're not going to be continuing, at least not this moment, with the sequence of our verses. We could talk about the month of Kartik perhaps, but we're going to leave that also. I don't know what's happening next Sunday on the calendar. Someone can look it up if there's any special event during the month of Kartik next Sunday, but we may speak next week a little bit about the Kartik months. Pastime of Mother Yasoda binding Krishna with the ropes of her love, maybe Krishna allows or wills. But I thought this week was a very special occasion. Oh, that's a bit of reflection now. This week in France, we have a very special, yesterday specifically, major, momentous, we could say, event took place here at New Mayapur. Amongst the other things which are going on here. I'll just briefly mention a few of the mercy that the Lord is bestowing upon us. This morning I counted 35 devotees in Mangalarti, and they're all more or less staying here, which is probably the most normal Mangalarti for a few decades. And the repair work, many of you are, of course, are fully aware of the demands of the government, and they have their health and safety standards, which are quite high. We've had to raise, I won't say how much on the phone, but a lot of Lakshmi, a lot of money, very much. I mean, we can say, briefly speaking, a little short of €1 million. Most of which, not most, well, the majority has been, by Krishna's grace, devotees' mercy, has been already raised, and the repairs are well underway, or the renovations, we should say, are well underway, hopefully to the satisfaction of the government demands. Electricity, which is one of the biggest, is almost completed, and many other things going on, and different festivals and so on, as everywhere else in the world, continue to go on. And we have 2 new cows, milking cows, just recently purchased a month or 2 ago. And the whole core of devotees looking after the cows. Krishna brings his servants along when he sends his dearmost cows. So that's another nice program, and we've already got butter made from our own cow milk for the deities, not every day, but from time to time. And what else happening? No, not much else. A lot of repair work going on, and many things going on, actually. But yesterday was one of the most significant, memorable occasions in our recent history of the Krishna consciousness movement in France, really, for 2 years, more or less, we've been trying to encourage various means and working with different devotees the publication or the reprint of the French Srimad Bhagavatam. It's been out of print for 37 years now. 1985 was the last time it was printed, and consequently we've basically had no Srimad Bhagavatam for distribution for a long time. It's very hard to find any copies or sets of the original printing, French Bhagavatam. So we endeavored when we made an endeavor project to try to reprint the Bhagavatam in French. And eventually we got sort of, what would you say, support, encouragement to go forward. And I won't be able to get into all the details today, but basically speaking, in BBT, the North European BBT, agreed to focus on trying to reprint the Srimad Bhagavatam in French, and nothing's on the computer because it was printed in the 80s, and no one ever put it on the computer as far as I know, at least as far as printing goes. But the films, maybe you know anything about printing, in those days we used to make films of the typeset text of whatever they're printing. They make films, and then they make what's called plates, which they would wrap around the barrels, and you have offset printing like that. That's how they were done. So those films were still available. The films of the typed manuscripts, well, not manuscripts exactly, but the text all laid out nicely. And those films were still available. Now there was a lot of them. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember how many it was, but it was I think something like 20,000, some crazy number of films, and they all had to be cleaned up and everything. So much work was done, tremendous amount of work. Endeavor of love to see that the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is, as many of you are familiar, is such an important text, specifically in this Kali Yuga. We'll read a few verses in a while. I just finished the story. So important is this Srimad Bhagavatam in particular, and we can all remember and meditate upon Srila Prabhupada coming to the Western world in 1965 and distributing himself personally, door to door, shop to shop, distributing these Srimad Bhagavatam sets. In those days, a set was comprised of the 3 first canto volumes. You may have seen the picture, old red, buff-looking cover, and very, very simple in terms of modern printing. But Prabhupada did that. That was his one of his, perhaps the main goal which he had was to present Srimad Bhagavatam to the world. So we were eager in France, and particularly there was also another devotee who was writing his own commentaries, and that was the only one available. He was doing his own, based upon our acharyas, no doubt, making his own printing. So it's so important to have, with many new congregation members coming forward, and so many devotees who never actually got the set in the first place, for obvious reasons. So there's a bit of a demand there, not just in France, but other countries too, but primarily in France. So we managed to get that push to get that BBT into it, and a little bit, and all the work which then they did on cleaning up all the films, sending them off to India after months and months and months. All kinds of trials took place, what to speak of COVID. Raging, the whole BBT went down with COVID for quite some time. Then there was a toxic fire waste right next to the BBT building in Sweden, which is where it's based, which also prevented them from working for quite some time. Terrible fire, a toxic pit nearby. Only many external obstacles were there, but they continued, they persevered and made enough, and eventually got the films ready to send to India. They agreed to accept films rather than the digital version. So they sent it off to India, huge amount of films, no doubt costing a large amount of money. They sent them off to India, and eventually, of course, then with the COVID, everything was held up. Paper was not available. Many problems were there in terms of trying to bring this to a product, a final product of this project, to try to get Srimad Bhagavatam back in print. So the printer, eventually he agreed on a price, but everything got delayed, one thing after another. No end of delays were there. It went on for months and months and months and months, maybe a good part of a year, in fact. There was still no sign of printing. But it went to keep pushing. Well, one of those things we had to do, there was not enough money and not enough security to print the French Bhagavatam, because unfortunately in the past, the French publications, many of them had not been paid, not in the recent 5 to 10 years, but prior to that, in the late 80s and 90s. Many of the books were never paid for. The BBT made a great loss financially, and they've always been very conscious or careful in not printing too many French books, lest they cannot be sold and consequently not paid for. So in this case, we also had to raise the majority of the printing costs before even having a single page printed, which was an exciting endeavor. And by the grace of many devotees, maybe some of you who are online, in fact, money was made available, actually was made available to the BBT to print the Bhagavatam. We also managed to sell last year, about this time last year, a little bit earlier than this time, August maybe last year, we managed to sell, without any books whatsoever, nearly 200, well, actually, yeah, nearly 200 sets of French Bhagavatams. So there's no such thing existing on the surface, so to speak. But by Krishna's arrangement, so many devotees came forward to pay for a set in the future, whenever the future was to be, and that also helped tremendously. So then eventually the printer was ready to print, and so many problems with the blueprints. They couldn't, anyway, all kinds of things we won't mention. But eventually the books were printed, and I suppose about 3 months ago, they were, 3 or 4 months ago, they were printed, and then they were, maybe 5 months ago, then they were to be shipped to Europe on the boat. And we had so many books. We had 18 tons. No, much more than that. Far more. With 2 full containers of books. The Bhagavatams and other books were printed too. 30,000 Bhagavad Gitas in French, and songbooks and like that. 2 full containers were shipped from India to Europe. And they arrived about 1 month ago, I guess. Thereabouts, maybe a little less than a month ago. They arrived eventually in Europe. They went a long route, but they eventually arrived in Europe, and with our warehouse in Belgium. And just yesterday, and there was about 2 or 3 weeks, we couldn't get a lorry, trying everything we could. No lorry was available. And then eventually they managed to get a lorry. The lorry was from Lithuania. The driver was from Ukraine. He lives in Poland, and the company was in Belgium. They're shipping to France. Quite a roundabout combination of United Nations. So they managed to get a truck eventually, and there was all kinds of problems there. The truck wasn't big enough. Well, it was big enough, but it didn't have the weight for the shipment to France. Now, the shipment from India was one thing, but only a certain percentage of that comes to France. The rest stays in the warehouse in Belgium for the future, and so on and so forth. The yachters that want French books. So then they were shipped to France, and the driver got lost. We a whole day almost lost trying to find New Mayapur. Not easy to find a holy Dham. You can't just walk in on a bus ticket or a taxi or anything. Finding Krishna, finding the Dham is real. Not as easy as it sounds. But he couldn't get here. But eventually, yesterday morning, early in the morning, we found him. And we managed to bring him here to New Mayapur. He'd been driving around the previous half of the previous day looking for it, practically. He couldn't speak English. We didn't have his phone number. So many things. They don't give it. Anyway, eventually he came yesterday morning in a phenomenal event, pouring with rain. It was raining non-stop practically all whole weekend up to now. And anyway, the truck arrived. We got their next door neighbor, the farmer, very friendly to us. He provided the forklift truck, the big forklift truck, or tractor rather, which he brought over. And to unload these pallets, there were 31 pallets of books weighing 18 tons. So he got the books off the trolley, and we just opened. In fact, yesterday it was open. We didn't have the time. We didn't have a proper opening ceremony for the warehouse, but I guess the arrival of the books was the opening. We have our own warehouse now at New Mayapur specifically for books. So this was the first time of a totally empty building until these books arrived. So some of us were there. It was in the middle of Bhagavatam class yesterday morning, but many of us were there to help supervise. There wasn't much physical work at this point because mainly it was between the forklift truck and the lorry bringing the books over to the warehouse and then adjusting it with a smaller pallet trolley. So all on big pallets. I might show some pictures later if I can find them. Let's see. And into the warehouse they did go. 31 pallets of books. It was a memorable and momentous event of these Bhagavatams arriving after 37 years with no print since the last print into the warehouse. Yeah, so that was the arrival of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then they were consequently, maybe I can share screen. I don't know. Let me see. I haven't had time to do very much, to be honest. But maybe, where's the share screen? I guess I got to go out of this. Oh, there we go. Share screen. What have we got here? We have to open it, won't we? Let's see. Share screen. Where's he gone? Lasika? How did it? Janananda, are you there? Do you know how to do this? I want to share this picture here. I don't know how to do that. This one here.
If you go back to the Zoom window, there should be a green button at the bottom of the Zoom window that says share screen.
We did that, but the picture's not showing up. It's not in the files on the WhatsApp.
Because we can share the screen.
Well, if I thought I could share that screen, I'd open the picture. The picture's on my desktop. So it's not showing up.
There should be an option where you can just share the whole computer screen. So there should be an option where you could.
720 sets arrived of Bhagavatam plus 12,000 Gitas yesterday for a marathon. We hope that you're all able to participate in this opportunity to distribute this message of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Any you can. We have to study these books ourselves as much as we can. We're all, many of you are busy and whatever it may be, but whenever we get the chance, read Srimad Bhagavatam, read Bhagavad Gita, and so on. Nectar of Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rita Prabhupada, there in these books. He himself is personally present in his words. And we can experience his association by reading these transcendental literatures, especially Bhagavatam. I don't know if you can see anything. Can you see it?
Yes, Maharaj.
This is the
Yes.
arrival of the first pallet into the new warehouse. And that's Janananda on the right there. I just had to pull in this is the little in-house pallet, you could say, trolley, whatever they call it, this fool's pallet. We have hundreds of pictures. I haven't had time yet to go to them, so we've only got a few which were on our camera. But there'll be more. We'll make a whole. We're hopefully doing a whole article on this whole episode. It's quite an exciting one, and that's like he's our temple president viewing it, and this is the first entry of the first box into the warehouse here, Srimad Bhagavatam. You can basically just about make it out on the picture there. Now the next one, let me see what we have next. So here's another one. I guess I can show this. This is the books in front of Srila Prabhupada. Can you see it?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, good. So that's the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's 12 volumes. It's not the entire set. It's up to the 10th canto, the first 3 volumes of Prabhupada. We're working on the others. There's a devotee, Vishnu Rata Prabhu, and others working on the translation of the remainder of the Bhagavatam. They've done quite a lot of it, but there's still a long way to go. So that hopefully in the future will be complete the set. It's work in progress. But this is the first 10 canto, up to the 10th canto, chapter 13. Beautiful books, reminiscent, same style, same printer, I believe, as the recent English printing. And we placed them on the altar. We don't have those pictures with me at the moment. I don't think I do anyway. Maybe I do. Let's see. On the altar, and then we offer them to Prabhupada as well, of course. Very wonderful. It's just so exciting. The world was so enlivened. Let's see what we got next. That was we already seen. This is putting the books in. This is not the main warehouse. This is the temple's warehouse. We put some of the books into the temple warehouse also. They have their own store. They pay for that in advance for many of them. So this is just putting the books into the warehouse. We had a whole chain of about 12 devotees to unload and repack. There we are. We just put pictures of the Bhagavatam. Excited devotees. Yeah. And there we are carrying the first set over to the temple from the warehouse. It was pouring with rain, so we had to cover them with plastic and umbrellas and different things. It was exciting going through the garden. New Mayapur. There's more pictures of the same event. Video. Quick. Okay, entering into the temple. Did you hear the video?
Not really.
Did you hear the video?
Not really, Maharaj. No.
No?
No.
Okay, I don't know. That's something else. That's another technical thing. So entering into the temple with the Srimad Bhagavatam set. And on into the temple room, offering to Prabhupada. And then, just a few duplicates. This is just on Maharaja Prabhu's camera. The main photographer has hundreds of pictures of the whole event from beginning to end. And today it is not a very good picture. I think that was on my camera. I'm not sure whose camera it was on. Not a very good picture. Later on, we put all the Bhagavatams on the altar, and the altar was covered, not covered, but many Bhagavatams were on the altar. And the beautiful deities of Gauri Tai, Radha Govinda Madhava, and Krishna Balaram, now in front of them. And they were installed, Krishna Balaram were installed by Prabhupada. Gauri Tai were installed during Prabhupada's presence also on the planet. And we're about to open up the box and offer it to the deities. They're getting ready. Open the box. And I think that's it. And as I say, most of the pictures we do not have. So how do I get out of here? Maharaja? I don't want to press the wrong button. Oh, maybe we're already out. I don't know. I think we are. So that was just a little snippet from yesterday's event. And all morning and afternoon, we were organizing and loading and reorganizing the boxes, opening up the pallets, and putting the books in there. All sorts of. It was an amazing event that was helping. And yes, already started distributing yesterday. 6 sets were distributed, and many others were taken, of course, by devotees who ordered large numbers. So we're hoping to have, a little bit of a opportunity to fulfill Prabhupada's desires that the Srimad Bhagavatam, be distributed widely all over the world, including France. In the past, they've distributed tens of thousands of sets, no doubt. But we're trying to do a little bit in this present situation we're in. So thank all those devotees who did help. Some of you are online today, with whatever contributions you could render to so we could print these books. Hare Krishna. So now we're going to just read something, and as I say later on, I plan right now. I have time to get and start. We're planning to make a nice article, illustrated article on the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, Krishna appeared, and it's interesting when we saw those pictures. I was just thinking how when Krishna appeared in Mathura and how Vasudeva carried him across the Yamuna to Gokul. It was also pouring with rain, and so on and so forth. So we're also carrying Srimad Bhagavatam, the literary incarnation of Godhead, in the rain from the warehouse where he appeared, and then across through the flower garden, in this case, to the temple. And actually, the first Srimad Bhagavatam set was sold to a devotee named Bhagavati, or Mataji. So it's good that the Bhagavat went to the person, Bhagavat, female name, of course, Bhagavati, the same principle, living Bhagavat. So living Bhagavat, and the book Bhagavat Prabhupada says are non-different. This is a great breakthrough, and if anyone wants to order, some of the devotees online or local, if you want to order any sets, or whatever you wish, we have a minimum order of 100 sets, I think it is. I'm not you can order anything you like, but they are now available by Krishna's grace. We hope that many thousands of persons will get great benefit from coming into contact with Bhagavatam like that. So I'm going to read some verses in glorification of Bhagavatam today, and if you wish to follow, you may, if you have access, or I don't know if Rasikananda Prabhu is going to put it on the screen or not. Sometimes I'll read the English, but maybe not always, because it's very long. You can go all day. We have today also many things to do regarding the Srimad Bhagavatam here. So this is the first verse. We need the Sanskrit, not the English. Thank you, that was great. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yatonvayad Itaratas Chateshva Vignas Swarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Moyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Midang Yata Vinamayo Yat Pratisago Misha Dhamna Sena Sada Nirasta Kuhukang Satyang Parang Dhimahi. This is the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam translation. And the translation is a long translation. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations. Bhagavatam's marathon, which we had, maybe I have to catch up on a little rest. What to do? As one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. And then verse 2, verse 2, it may take a while finding that one. Dharma projita koitavotra paramona matsaranam satam vedyam vastavam matra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite King Va Parairishvaraha Sadyo Vidya Varudyate Tra Kritibi Shushushubhistakshanat. Translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavat Purana propounds the highest truth which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality, distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. And the third verse of the first chapter of the Bhagavatam. Nigama kalpataro galitang palang Shukamakadamrita drava sangyutam Pibata bhagavatang rasangalayam Mohorahora sika bhuvi bhavukaha. O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Yay, what a beautiful verses there at the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we're going to read one of the most prominent verses regarding Srimad Bhagavatam. It is Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 43. 1, 3, 43. Krishne Swadamo Pagate Dharma Jnana Debisaha Kolonashta Bhishamesha Purana Kodunoditaha. This is quoted, I think, at the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, and the Prabhupada put this as the kind of like the masthead verse of Srimad Bhagavatam in its first canto, first part. This was at the very beginning as like the verse to bring us to the to the lotus, whatever, of Srimad Bhagavatam. This Srimad Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. If we remember, if we go back into the first canto, in the questions of the sages, that was one of their questions, wasn't it? They wanted to know that now Lord Krishna has departed for his own abode. How will religious principles be protected? It's very wonderful questions which the sages were asking, and they're all answered by Shukadeva Goswami. Now that the absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us by whom religious principles are presently protected. So Srimad Bhagavatam, this is how present religious principles are protected. We see in the world around us, there's practically no religious principles are so, say, if they remain in any form, they're usually misused, misunderstood, partially, whatever, compromised in so many ways. Hardly we find human life begins with religion, without proper, not just a name, not just a faith, but actually religious principles, abiding by actual principles of human society, which is given in the Vedas. It's not made by man. The Vedas are coming from God, and directions for human society, they come from the Supreme Lord. All religious principles come from God. Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavat panitam. Krishna is the source of all religious principles. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all the Vedas. It is the ripened fruit. It is the topmost, you can say, dharma. Savai pungsang paro dharmo yato bhaktir hokshagi. This is the topmost. You can read this in the second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's just go for that one, Rasika, if you can find it. I don't know the number, text number exactly. Savai pungso paro dharmo yato bhaktir hokshagi. Divinity and divine service. Here it is, text number 6. Text 6 of the second chapter. 126. You're on 16. 126. There you go. Savai pungsang paro dharmo yato bhaktir hokshage ahoitakiya patihata yayatma suprasidati. Translation. The supreme occupation for all humanity. Supreme occupation. Dharma. Dharma is not meaning just religion. Dharma means constitution, that which can never be changed. So the real dharma of the living entity is service, but in this world is perverted to service to the mundane, service to the illusion. So we have to distinguish the illusion from the reality. This is the highest knowledge is given in the Bhagavatam, the distinction between reality and illusion. So the highest occupation, the supreme occupation, the real dharma is not temporary activities of this world. That may be there as a means to gradually come to realization, but it's not the goal, just to attain material piety or material benefits or whatever it is. But it's to go back to Godhead, to awaken our eternal dharma or our eternal constitution. So Srimad Bhagavatam is giving here the supreme dharma, not just that we're spirit souls, not just that we should follow the Vedas, but what is that? For all humanity is that by which one can attain loving devotional service. So Srimad Bhagavatam is nowhere else will you find this. It is the essential script to help awaken the very purpose of our existence. Everything else is like a reflection or dream, but love of Godhead is the goal, or the eternal dharma of the living entity. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the direction. By hearing the Bhagavatam, by serving the Bhagavatam, by distributing the Srimad Bhagavatam, living our lives for the directions of Bhagavatam, then that can awaken within our hearts our eternal dharma of service to Krishna, and service unto the transcendent Lord. By such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Everyone's searching, Ananda Bodhisattva, we're all searching for satisfaction, but we're not finding it. We're looking here, there, and everywhere, changing this, changing that. Still not satisfied. Living entity is never satisfied because he's looking in the wrong place. And unfortunately, just like in the Bhagavad Gita describes this lust which rages, it burns like fire, is never satiated. So material endeavors, even in the name of religion, are never satisfied. So Bhagavatam rejects this type of so-called religion because it doesn't really, it serves a purpose if properly followed, as long as it leads to the real goal. But if it simply remains, it's in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains in the 4th chapter, it remains as simply a materialistic endeavor. We don't pray to God for material things. Piety, it may be a good start. It's certainly mode of goodness or recognized as being something favorable there. But it's not the goal. It's not the goal. It's just a means to help us to realize the goal and to give up this mundane endeavor, realize our goal of life. The Bhagavatam takes us to that point. Of all the Vedic literatures, the Bhagavatam is the one of all that we'll hear that in a minute, one scripture. Now we're going to go on to the 12th canto. I don't know if any of you have read the 12th canto. So the 12th canto is, what's the last canto itself? And we're going to read a section here at the end of the 12th canto. It's the last verse of the 12th chapter. There's a whole series of beautiful verses describing the various aspects of a summary of the Bhagavatam and the effects of studying the Bhagavatam and so on. And what the result, the effects of studying the Srimad Bhagavatam. But I'll just read the last verse of this 12th chapter, the very last one. 12th chapter, text number 66. Is it? No, I can't read properly. 69, sorry. 69. There she goes. 12, 12, 69. Pasuka nibita chetas tadyudastanya bhavo pyajita ruchir lila krishna sarastadiyam yatanuta kipam puranam tammakila vijinagnam vyasashunam natosmi. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami. It is he who defeats all inauspicious things within this universe. Although in the beginning he was absorbed in the happiness of Brahman realization and was living in a secluded place, giving up all other types of consciousness, he became attracted by the pleasing, most melodious pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. He therefore mercifully spoke this supreme Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the bright light of the absolute truth and which describes the activities of the Lord. This verse is spoken by Shuta Goswami, of course. Shukadeva Goswami was his spiritual master in the sense that he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from him. Parikshit Maharaj has already departed, so he's not present at this point in time. We go on to the 12th chapter now, and we'll take it up from text number 10, from text 10 onwards. 12th chapter, 13th, not 12th, 13th chapter, text number 10. This chapter is entitled The Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's the final chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam also. Here we are. Idang Bhagavata Purvang Brahmanena Vipankaje Sitaya Bhavabhitaya Karunyatsam Prakashitam. It was to Lord Brahma that the Supreme Personality of Godhead first revealed the Srimad Bhagavatam in full at the time Brahma, frightened by material existence, was sitting on the lotus flower that had grown from the Lord's navel. We will see those in full, and then it's expanded. That's the Chatur Shloka of the second canto of the Bhagavatam, which was revealed to Lord Brahma. But those 4 verses contain everything kind of blossoms, opens up from those like a seed, the seedling of the Bhagavatam, opening up, everything then being expanded in various ways in different parts of the universe. They have more or less, let's say, presence of the Bhagavatam or awareness of the Bhagavatam. The heavenly planets, it said there's so many more. The Bhagavatam given by Sri Goswami is 18,000 verses. On other planets, it's far more. It's understood. But still, 18,000 is not bad. And I'm sure that many of us have not even finished those 18,000 verses. We don't have to worry about the 18 million, which maybe they're on the heavenly planets or something. We should at least try to go through those 18,000 verses and purports by Sri Prabhupada. Where are we? Text number 7, 12. Yeah, there we go. Adimayadyavasaneshu varagyakyana samyutam harililakata vrata mitanandita satsaram sarvavedanta saram yad brahmatmaikatva lakshanam vasvyadit vitiyam tanishtam kaivalyaka prayojanam nam. From beginning to end, the Srimad Bhagavatam is full of narrations that encourage renunciation of material life, as well as nectarian accounts of the Lord, of Lord Hari's transcendental pastimes, which give ecstasy to the saintly devotees and demigods. This Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedanta philosophy, because its subject matter is the absolute truth, which, while none different from the spirit soul, is the ultimate reality, one without a second. The goal of this literature is exclusive devotional service unto that supreme truth. Next verse. Text 13. Proshtapadyam purnamasyam hema singhasamanvitam dadatiyo bhagavatam sayati paramam gatim. If, this is one for your Bhadra Purnima, if on the full moon day of the month of Bhadra, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme transcendental destination. Just see there, we're so thinking, oh, we have to sell it, this, that, the other. I'm sure there's somebody, of course, we don't just want to give it to anyone necessarily who would not appreciate it, you know. Somebody who's an animal mentality may not appreciate it. It's like Lord, when Durvasa Muni offered the garland to Indra, Indra's elephant grabbed the garland, being an animal, or rather Indra gave the garland, he was very offensive, he gave it to the elephant. And the elephant, being an animal, didn't respect it, didn't know what it was. He just threw it on the floor and stamped on it. He may have known or not known, but that's what he did with it. So we don't want just like that, but to persons who are, you know, we may be respectful at least, even if they're not ready to read it. There's no end. The books they act like time bombs in the future. They will be, somebody will pick it up and it will change their whole lives. Like a paradigm change, 180-degree change in their direction. By touching the Srimad Bhagavatam, just by touching the Bhagavatam, one gets benefited. Or holding the Bhagavatam, seeing the Bhagavatam, but actually to give a gift of the whole Bhagavatam set, obviously that person is very fortunate. We want to try to make sure it's going into, you know, let's say reasonably good hands. Not that they'll throw it away or damage or whatever. But still, one who can give this gift, previously people were no doubt a little bit more pious, maybe. Still, if when someone other gives this Srimad Bhagavatam, one tremendous benefit for everyone. Most wonderful. Next verse. That will be text number. What text will be? 13, 14. Yeah, 14. Rajante tavadanyani puranani satam gade yavad bhagavatam naiva shuyate mitta sagaram. All other Puranic scriptures shine forth in the assembly of saintly devotees only as long as that great ocean of nectar, Srimad Bhagavatam, is not heard. And in the forest of Naimishranya, it's described how all the sages were hearing various scriptures, 88,000 sages, trying to find out what we can do for this age of Kali, which is now begun. What are we going to do to help the poor souls in this age, this degraded age, to enlighten them, to free them, and so on? But they were getting nowhere. They're reciting scriptures and said, even their fire sacrifices, they couldn't even light them. There was just smoke and they were becoming blackened. They weren't getting there. And then Sutta Goswami appeared on the scene. He also spoke various Puranas. But when he came to Srimad Bhagavatam, everything was solved. Unless the Srimad Bhagavatam is heard, then what's the point? This Bhagavatam shone forth, and then that was it. All the answers were given for this age for every age, but particularly in this age of Kali, to enlighten the living entities, the solution for the age of Kali. Next verse. 15. Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi Shri Bhagavatam Ishyate Tadrasamrita Triptasya Nanyatasya Dvati Kvachit. Srimad Bhagavatam is declared to be the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. One who has felt satisfaction from its nectarian mellow will never be attracted to any other literature. Isn't that amazing? We read so many hundreds of literatures, thousands maybe in our lifetimes, and we may, whatever reason, be attracted or not attracted. But here we see that just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, one loses all attraction for any other literature, because everything, it's the reservoir of all knowledge. It's a reservoir of the truth, and everything comes ultimately from Krishna. And Bhagavatam is of all scriptures, is the most, it's completely perfect. All the scriptures which have some degrees of conditioning or compromise or materialism or something or another, they come from Srimad Bhagavatam, you could say, in one sense, you could say it like that. And their purpose is to bring us back to Srimad Bhagavatam. Next verse. Nimnaganam yata ganga, devanam achuto yata, vaishnavanam yata shambhu, parananam midang tata. Just as the Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta, the supreme among deities, and Lord Shambhu, the greatest of Vaishnavas, so Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. And there's that famous verse, Vaishnava, Tata Shambhu, that Lord Shiva is the greatest of the Vaishnavas. As we hear different devotees, different moods and different situations are described as the greatest of the Vaishnavas. Lord Shiva also, he drank the ocean of milk, of poison, and so many things in the service of the Lord. He's also known the greatest Vaishnava. Next verse. Kshetranam chaiva sarvesham yata kashi hanuttama tata purana vratanam Srimad Bhagavatam dvijaha. O Brahmanas, in the same way that the city of Kashi is excelled among holy places, Srimad Bhagavatam is supreme among all the Puranas. Next verse. This is a famous verse glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. What number is this? 18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalang Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsyam Mekam Amalang Jnanam Param Giyate Tattvajnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyam Avishkritam Tashrinvan Supatan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchen Naraha. Translation. Srimad Bhagavatam is a spotless Purana. It is most dear to the Vaishnava because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. This Bhagavatam reveals the means for becoming free from all material work, together with the processes of transcendental knowledge, renunciation, and devotion. Anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Wonderful verse. Okay. We're going to finish there. Let's see. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. There are countless verses in the Bhagavatam which we could have read or you could read, glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam. We could say it's self-aggrandizement, but these verses are spoken by, not by ordinary persons. Vyasadeva, Sukadeva Goswami, Suta Goswami, so many other great personalities who glorify Srimad Bhagavatam above all other scriptures. What need is there of any other scripture other than Srimad Bhagavatam? So please take advantage of the Bhagavatam, and I'll finish there. Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Couple of questions here. Yes, we should read Srimad Bhagavatam after reading Bhagavad Gita. It's generally best to do so, but every part, the Prabhupada says, is like sugar candy. Wherever you bite, it's sweet. But the best thing is to read Gita first, if you can. But it's also good to read them both at the same time. What is a good rate to be reading Srimad Bhagavatam? That depends on each and every individual, so that we become absorbed in hearing it. It may vary. Prabhupada had one verse a day to analyze it from all different angles, perspectives. So we enter deep into each verse. But that will take you quite a long time with 18,000 verses at hand. How many verses? How many years would that take? About 50 years, I think. I don't know. 40 years. Quite a long time. maybe not 50, maybe 20, 30, I don't know, but someone can work it out. 18,350, isn't it? 18,000 divided by, huh?
50.
50 years? 50 years. If you read one verse, of course, you may read many verses. And now, one thing is, of course, some of you know this, but by Sheshika Prabhu, who's very much like the inspiration for our book distribution all over the world, and many others are too, but he's particularly an inspiration. And he encourages his Bhadra Purnim festival to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam sets, like anything. He spearheads that project. Well, I think we have back to Gokul, was it? Back to Goloka very soon. Usually, I don't know if he's doing it this year, but that's the last 3 months of the year to distribute Bhagavad Gita's like wildfire. So anyway, he gives us a pay. Was it sage? Was it?
Be a sage page by page.
Be a sage page by page. Thank you, Rasika. Be a sage page by page. So absorb oneself page by page. It's nice to just read through. It's also nice to go through again. And every time you read Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, any of these scriptures, it's like you've never read it before. More revelations, go deeper. Krishna reveals more unlimited aspects of Srimad Bhagavatam there. It's not just like an ordinary book, which is that's it. There's nothing more than what it is. Srimad Bhagavatam is the ocean of everything. Everything is there, we just can't see it. So we read it carefully, we pay attention, same with chanting the holy names. If we pay attention, Krishna reciprocates. So we endeavor to hear attentively, as Sutta Goswami says in the 3rd chapter, I am now going to speak this Bhagavatam to you as I have heard it. Now please try to hear this with rapt attention. And Prabhupada writes that if you hear with rapt attention, you will see Krishna on the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So yes, attention. Even if there's no attention or less attention, still there's benefit from hearing Bhagavatam. It's not like a race to finish it off in a certain period of time. Nonetheless, by hearing, even if we're not so attentive, by hearing it, we get tremendous purification. And gradually, it's like training a wild horse. Gradually, one will come down and start to actually associate with Bhagavatam. It will become an unavoidable necessity of our day. Can't live a day without the Bhagavatam. It's like you can't go a day without some people without watching some, on TV or whatever you watch. Can't go a day without doing something. So we can't handle it. We can't go a minute without a cigarette, for instance, as a negative example, but similar thing. Can't live without a cigarette. I can't live without a cup of coffee or tea. Some people like that. I can't handle it. So we should not be able to handle life without Bhagavatam. This is the point. It's not a matter of 1 page, 5 pages, 50 pages, whatever we can do to help us to develop this dependence and realization. We can't exist without Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the life and soul of our existence. So he says 41 pages a day, you'll read the whole Bhagavatam in 1 year. I tried it. I did it actually. About 5 years ago. I didn't quite make it because I fell behind for various reasons. About a year and 2 months, I read the whole Bhagavatam, including the purports, by the way. That doesn't just mean the verses. And ideally, it includes the Sanskrit and the word for word. The Prabhupada hasn't just written this Sanskrit and the word for word just for that he had nothing else to do, just to use his pen or something. That wasn't the purpose. It's for us. It's for us. It's a powerful purification reading the Sanskrit. And if you really enter into the Sanskrit, the word for word is the secret. And to understand the meaning of the verse, one goes deeper and deeper and deeper. You don't have to skim over. You can just read the English also. That's also good. But if you read the Sanskrit and the word for word, that's even better. Yeah, whichever. It's all good. It's sugar candy. Where do we get to there? What is this? Oh, chart has come up on the screen. Be a sage page by page. There we go. Let's have a look at it. Srimad, what does this mean? Srimad Bhagavatam, what does it mean? Don't understand it. 158 pages. If you want to read it in 1 month, you have to read 5 pages a day, like that. You got it? 158. So if you want to read the Krishna book, you've got to read 24 pages a day to read it in 1 month. Yeah. Amazing. For a year, you only have to read 2 pages a day. That's pretty cool. Nectar devotion even less, 1.13. Who can't read 1.13 of a page a day? The same with all of them. I don't know what the grand total is here. 59, 61, 62, 63, 65, 66. More or less 66 pages a day, you read all of those books in a year. Very good. Srimad Bhagavatam, it's 41, Chaitanya Charitamrita 18. So really good. Thank you for that. How can we train ourselves to take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam instead of mundane things? Well, that's or we could say one of those all-pervasive questions. Well, association is very important. We hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the Sasatam Pasangam Mamavirya, Samvido Bhavanti Vitkarna Vasayana Kata, in the association of devotees. We hear it becomes relishable. We have to have a relish. Practice makes perfect. These little things you just noted, they really help when you make some kind of, vow, or it's a bit of a hard word to use, some kind of a plan to read every day. Don't try to do something beyond our present. Don't go from 0 to 41 necessarily and then become disappointed because you don't make it. A target which is achievable, aim for that and then gradually increase. So 2 pages, 4 pages, 8 pages, whatever you can do daily of reading Srimad Bhagavatam. But it's good if you join some groups. There are reading groups. We used to read together. We never had our individual books when I joined. We had to all read together. So reading groups are a very good idea. Many devotees are doing that to help encourage devotees to read Srimad Bhagavatam. Make notes. Try to see where in this particular section of Bhagavatam applicable to my life or the world around us. Try to see the world in relation to what you read, and not just reading something and using it in your life, but see the life in relationship. Bhagavatam, connect the two like that. It's not just something we read because we're supposed to, or when we're giving class or something. But it's our life. This is our best friend. Bhagavatam is our best friend. Associate with your best friend. Give you everything you want. Your heart will become satisfied. And then naturally one will lose taste for other things. The more we develop a taste for Bhagavatam, the more we lose our taste for other topics. It takes time. But in association of devotees and regular practice, and detachment, Krishna says, is possible. It is possible. Also very thank you, Hare Krishna. Jai. That's it. So thank you all very, very much for your association and your service to Srila Prabhupada's mission. Do your best to try to do whatever you can to assist Prabhupada in spreading Krishna consciousness. Try to protect yourself, your own devotional creepers, by these activities. Is one of the 5. Bhagavatam reading is one amongst the 5 most important of all the limbs of devotional service. So it is very essential, especially in this Kali Yuga, and to hear from the pure devotee of the Lord. The panacea, the medicine to cure us of all the ill effects of this particular age, or those who are suffering in this age of Kali, particularly, or in the gopis say, within this material world. The only solution is to hear topics about you, or spoken by you, or about you. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of that. Even those pastimes which don't seem to be particularly directly Krishna conscious, lists of names, they all lead to Krishna. Everything in the Bhagavatam leads to Krishna. If we look at it on itself, we may not be able to see Krishna. We need help to see Krishna in Bhagavatam. But if we read on, we'll find that everything leads to Krishna. Every word, every pastime leads to Krishna. This is what Bhagavatam does. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the scripture which leads us to Krishna, leads us back to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, everyone, thank you all very much. If you want a Bhagavatam set, just drop me a line, or if you still want to contribute anything towards either sponsoring them, or you still have to pay off some of the books, of course. I'd like to thank you all very much again. And Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. I don't know how to turn it off. Where's it gone? Oh, there we go.